Hello again everyone, and let's get straight into comparing three lower budget, albeit still not cheap, full frame fast standard zoom lenses for Sony E-mount cameras. Full frame Sony cameras are very popular, and any one of these lenses could give you a nice little zoom range for them while providing a decently bright maximum aperture of f2.8. They are zoom lenses for people who want to take their photography more seriously. In order of size and of zoom range, we have the brand new Sigma 28-70mm f2.8 DGDNC, the Tamron 28-75mm f2.8 Di3 RXD, and another Sigma lens, their 24-70mm f2.8 DGDNA. As you can see, they are all within quite a similar price range, severely undercutting Sony's official 24-70mm f2.8 G Master lens, making them all tempting options. None of these lenses have image stabilization built in, but then again, all but the oldest of Sony's full-frame cameras have it built in now. The lens with the smallest zoom range is the Sigma 28-70. 28mm is not an amazingly wide angle, and 70mm not especially telephoto. The Tamron edges ahead of it by taking you all the way to the dizzying height of 75mm. Really, you won't notice the difference, but you definitely would notice the difference between 28mm at the wide end and 24mm, which is what gives the more expensive Sigma lens a handy advantage. At the wide angle end, an extra 4mm makes more of a difference than you'd think, and I'd much rather start at 24mm for wedding or landscape photography. Then again, that slightly wider angle is one of the main reasons this lens has to be so much bigger than the other two. When it comes to build quality, the Tamron lens feels pretty good to handle, but falls slightly behind the two Sigma lenses. It's quite plasticky and it works well, but its autofocus system isn't quite as fast as the two Sigma lenses. The Sigma 28-70 lens is a tiny step up from it, with more solid feeling plastic and a smoother feeling zoom ring. It just feels a little tougher. The more expensive Sigma 24-70mm has a much more premium feel, with more metal being used in its construction and a few extra control buttons on the side. Again though, it's big compared to the other two, while still being a little smaller than usual for a lens in this class. Let's look at image quality now, and let's start at their widest angles first. At f2.8, the two Sigma lenses show a touch more contrast and sharpness than the Tamron, although all three are looking great. Let's look over in the corners. All three lenses look softer now, although the Tamron looks a little weaker than the others, and the Sigma 28-70 just a little sharper. At f4, the pecking order looks about the same. It's still the same at f5.6, although at f8, the Sigma 28-70 pulls ahead just a little bit again. Let's zoom the lenses in about halfway now. All three of them look great in the middle at f2.8. This time, the Tamron and the Sigma 24-70 are looking reasonably sharp, and the Sigma 28-70 just a little softer. At f4, all three lenses look very good in the corners, although perhaps the Sigma 24-70 is pulling ahead just slightly. The three lenses stay about the same as you stop down their apertures further, although at f11 all three look nice and sharp in their corners. Now let's zoom all the way into 70mm. At f2.8, all three lenses perform a little differently in the middle now. The Tamron lens offers good resolution but pretty low contrast. The Sigma 28-70 has good enough contrast, but it's a little soft, whereas the Sigma 24-70 manages to offer great image quality without any problems at all. Let's look in the corners. All three lenses look a bit softer now, although the Sigma 28-70 lags behind the others just a little. Stop down to f4, and the more expensive Sigma 24-70 pulls ahead just a tiny bit. It's the same at f5.6 and f8, but stop all the way down to f11 and all three lenses show a noticeable improvement, now looking very sharp in those telephoto corners. Well, that was interesting. My conclusion is that the more expensive Sigma 24-70 is clearly a little sharper than the other two lenses overall, although not by that much. It's a fairly tight race between the two smaller lenses, although I think the newer Sigma 28-70 offers just a little more than the Tamron. It's sharper at wide angles and has a little more contrast too, although overall it is pretty close. When it comes to distortion and vignetting, all three lenses show a similar performance, although the Tamron lens shows a little less distortion than the other two, particularly at its widest angle. Those are normally corrected in your camera though, so it's not something to typically worry about too much. Let's take a look at close-up image quality now. All three lenses can get you similarly close to your subject, and all three lenses struggle with close-up image quality at f2.8, with the Sigma 28-70 looking particularly bad. Here's f4 and f5.6. The Sigma 24-70 looks a little better than the other two here, and the Sigma 28-70 still a little worse. It's only really at f8 that all three lenses offer good close-up image quality. When it comes to working against bright light, all three lenses perform similarly well, although the more expensive Sigma 24-70 shows a little more flaring. That's unsurprising though, considering its larger and more complex optics. Finally, bokeh. The two Sigma lenses offer you some reasonably soft out-of-focus backgrounds, better than usual for a fast standard zoom lens. The Tamron lens does struggle here though, with a bit of busyness and messiness in its own backgrounds. They look slightly harsh. So, that was a lot of information. How on earth can we sum it all up? Here's what I thought. In terms of zoom range, the extra 4mm at the wide end of the Sigma 24-70 does make a real difference to your usability. Well, it does for me anyway, although the Tamron can zoom in just marginally further than the others. In terms of build quality, you get exactly what you pay for. The Tamron lens isn't quite as good as the other two, although it's perfectly well made in absolute terms, and the more expensive Sigma 24-70 does feel the toughest. The Sigma 28-70 really is impressively small though, really tiny, even compared to the other two. In terms of image quality, I'd say the two Sigma lenses do seem to offer you slightly sharper image quality than the Tamron, and certainly nicer quality bokeh, but there isn't that much in it. The Tamron isn't exactly lagging far behind, and it does have a bit less distortion than the Sigma lenses. Personally, if you had to ask my own choice, I would save up my money for the Sigma 24-70. It's a nicer lens overall, and a zoom range that starts at 24mm is much more desirable to me than 28, but everyone has different requirements, and it's up to you which one to go for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and I hope you found this helpful. Ciao!